Redditors who work at the what's the funniest / absurd reason someone was brought in? Girl came in saying she had a lump in her vagina. Very worried about it. Examination revealed nil abnormalities. On further questioning, her new boyfriend said he felt it during sex. It was her cervix. I didn't work in an but was a patient, and someone a few stalls down from me was flipping out because the pot brownie he ate was too strong. It was kinda funny. He kept saying, "I can't breathe, I can't breathe," and the nurse was like, "But you're breathing just fine," and someone else he was with said, "I told you not to eat the whole thing." Just recently we had an older gent come in for anxiety via EMS. EMS reports patient self-medicated his anxiety with cocaine. When asking what brought him in today, he said he was arguing with his sister about the car and how much this costs and carrying on. Had to stop and ask him again, why is he here? His reasoning was he was tired of arguing with his sister and would rather be admitted to the hospital. Volunteered in an 4 years. Kid about 12 years old came in with a slim piece of carrot stuck up his nose. Was horsing around at the dinner table, had carrot up near his nose, then snort laughed. Was far in the nose cavity. Needed an ear, nose, throat specialist to look at it. Visit reason. Cannot find pulse. She walked in. Some dude tried to light a bottle rocket stuck in his ass. 2nd degree burns across his back. 3rd degree burns on his chocolate starfish. Poor guy couldn't even lay on his back because it was too painful. Play stupid games, win a crispy butthole. Over the course of an evening, 9 teenagers were brought in by their parents for hallucinations. None of them were able to tell us what was going on, and they trickled in over about 4 hours. The drug screens were negative, but they were all pretty badly out of it. Finally, one of the siblings was able to tell us they had all been at the same party. One of the teens had talked the others into trying mushrooms, except they were mildly poisonous ones instead of the ones you take for shrooms. They were all tripping like crazy for the night, and they had to stay in the until they were sobering up. It was amusing for the staff, but the parents were quite irate. Head lice. The weird thing is our quarantine protocol for that was more strict than for someone with covered symptoms. Favorite trackboard I've personally seen was concerned about worms in face. He was on a bunch of drugs. For acting funny at Walmart. Dude was just taking things off shelves and putting them in the aisle. He was drunk and high on marijuana, cocaine, and ecstasy, but someone called the police on him and he was brought to the to detox. He just kept asking us for chocolate pudding, cheese curds, and french fries to eat while he channel surfed. Oh man. I don't work in the but my dad's old girlfriend did, and he loves to tell this story. One night a guy came in with chronic hiccups. Poor guy had them for about a week, tried everything, nothing worked, and he was getting desperate. Nurses tried everything they could think of and not even their tricks worked. They had to go back to the books and look for alternative cures. Sure enough, there was one. So they go to tell the guy. Apparently as soon as he heard the words digital rectal stimulation, his hiccups went away. A 15-year-old kid came in because he shoved one of those mini Nerf footballs, the ones with the tail that make noise when you throw them, in his butt, and when he tried to pull it back out the tail came off. Your butt is basically a vacuum. We got it back with some long pliers. My mom worked in the and said there were so many guys who ended up there because of things they slipped and fell on. The craziest one for her was the guy who slipped and fell on a snow globe. I'm a cop and was posted at the on night shift once, and a woman came in because she got bit by a snake in her yard. She was panicking because of it. Her hand was really swollen. One of the nurses asked if she saw what kind of snake it was, and she said no. A couple of minutes later, these two boys, maybe 12 to 13, came running in holding a decapitated snake in pieces inside of a Ziploc bag. They had rode their bikes from their house to the hospital to show the doctors the snake that bit this lady. Like these kids heard about what happened and went on her yard to kill the snake just to do this. It was funny and oddly heartwarming. Had a guy come in after smoking weed with his friends, and then he also did PCP. His friends got very paranoid and he became aggressive towards them, so naturally they attacked him with a samurai sword. As a kid, my mom's EMT stories seemed hilarious, but as an adult I don't think I'd have the patience to tolerate so many people's bullshit. That being said, here goes the story. They get a call that a guy has a severe nosebleed, is already feeling dizzy, losing a lot of blood, and can't stop it. Needless to say they floor it, thinking the guy might bleed out, get there in very short time. They ring the doorbell, a guy answers. They ask him to take them to the victim. He says they are talking to him. Not one drop of blood on the guy's face or clothes or anywhere, cheeks all rosy, doesn't look like he's lost a lot of blood, so they ask what the deal is. He says it's hard to explain, but he was worried they wouldn't send him an ambulance if he was honest about his symptoms, and he's in a lot of pain. My mom tells him to sit down and tell them about the symptoms while they take his blood pressure. Guy says he'll do all of that, except for the sitting down part. Now, I bet you all know where this is going. Turns out he'd been trying to convince his girlfriend to do anal. She wasn't into it, was afraid it would hurt. So the guy says, if I show you on myself, will you do it? She reluctantly said yes. So the guy lubes up a thin aluminum flashlight, 2 centimeters thick, 15 centimeters long, bends over and jams it up his own ass. He's got it good in up there, holding on to the end with 2 fingers. However, the flashlight, being cheap, wasn't machined properly in the factory and a small burr on the rim pricked his colon from the inside. So he jolts upright from the sharp pain. The lubed up flashlight escapes his finger and gets sclopped up his bum. So they put him on a stretcher and the driver says into the radio, ambulance 98 returning, 28-year-old male with severe constipation and foreign object in his rectum. UHM, it's a flashlight, in case it matters. So, UHM. Yup, you heard that right. We are bringing you a firefly. Stand by. Some mofo walked in saying he saw Jesus, Buddha, and Allah eating sushi at the local park. His pockets had packets of coke and weed. Jesus, Buddha, and Allah were just a white kid, Asian girl and a Arabian kid sitting together. I'm not in the medical field. Had to take my husband to the ER one night. He got his penis stuck in the zipper of his jeans. We tried to solve the problem ourselves, and after 2 hours we gave up. They gave him a shot. To numb the area it took 2 people pulling and tugging to get it free. The doctor's exact words, it looks like you took a cheese grater to it. He wears boxer briefs now. I guarantee we were the talk of the earth for a long time. Guy came in and handed over a note saying he had a vibrator stuck in his ass. It had gone past the sphincter. My empathetic workmate asked him had he come in to get the batteries changed. My buddy was a roofer. He was hot tarring a roof when someone knocked over the bucket of boiling hot tar. It soaked on his face. This guy, being the tough as nails psycho that he was, drives himself to the ER. Walks in calmly. The nurse sees him and gasps. So he rubs his stomach and says, my tummy hurts. Lol. Not an ER worker, but a chronically ill person who has been hospitalized and in the ER many times. The best one ever was a man who got his junk stuck in a toaster in the room next to me. Would not stop screaming about, you absolutely have to save my dick. You have to. You hear a lot when separated by flimsy walls, and when a situation is so silly even nurses can't help but pause and giggle. Never found out if it was on or not. A woman came in after she cut her hand pretty bad making dinner. Instead of putting any pressure on the cut to stop the bleeding, she was just letting herself bleed into a large kitchen bowl. I got admitted to the ED after a heavy leather-bound photo album fell off the top of a freestanding wardrobe during sex and hit me on the head. I ended up with 12 stitches and a multi-layer closure and luckily missed out on a skull fracture. The album in question? The woman's wedding day with her dead husband. We joked later that it was his ghost disapproving of our random horny moments. This falls more in line with absurd than funny. Had a patient who came into the ED in a t-shirt and a small towel wrapped around his waist. I noticed in Tridge the patient refused to sit down the entire time. patient gets rushed immediately to the back. Turns out the patient and his, so we are having a little too much fun, and lodged a dildo in his rectum. The dildo in question was one that has a suction cup on the end of it that they were using as a handle. The dildo also had the shaft broken off, only leaving the testicles. He had to be transported to a higher level of care for surgery of a perforated rectum. The kicker? He did it again 3 months later. Bottle of hot sauce stuck up the rectum. It was glass, and I was so surprised it didn't shatter. He had to have emergency surgery to remove it, and you guessed it, he said he just went to sit down on his recliner and happened to sit on the hot sauce. Thanks for watching, and share your stories. Don't forget to consider the idea to maybe think about potentially subscribing. Peace.